Hola, buenas tardes. Welcome to the Costa del Sol, and more importantly, welcome to Malaga. This city enjoys more than 300 sunny days a year, and as you can see, we're in December and you barely need a jacket. In the north, there's mountains, and in the south, we have the Mediterranean Sea. So we have this little perfect microclimate that makes for absolutely gorgeous weather. Malaga is a city that is 2,800 years old. It was founded by the Phoenicians, and they called it Malacca. The people that lived here were the Malacitanas. And after the Phoenicians came the Romans, the Arabs, and later the Christians. And they've left their fingerprints all over everything. You can see it in the historic center, as well as the delicious foods that we're gonna try. Welcome, and if you're ready, let's go. They say that in Malaga, there's actually two cathedrals. There's a religious one, and then there's the Casa Antigua de la Guardia. And this is a tavern that's been around since the year 1840. It was named for its owner at the time, Jose de la Guardia. And it's always been a place where Malagueños can come to drink their sweet wine. The typical wine from Malaga is sweet. It's not the red wines or the white wines that you might be familiar with from Rioja, Rías Baixas, and it's definitely not the sherry that you might know from Tío Pepe in Jerez. This wine is different because it's made from grapes that have been let to ripen a little bit more. So the flavor that you get is really sweet and also a little bit fruity. It pairs really nicely with something salty. In here they serve it with mariscos, which is shellfish, or little mejillones, or mussels, and it's really good. I don't love shellfish, but I do eat it with either olives. There's a lot of places that obviously you can buy local olives in Malaga, so I think it's great that you get your local wine with your local olives, or queso manchego. So it's typical also to drink the sweet wine as an aperitif. The people will typically stop in here right around now, what's before lunch, and have a little sweet wine, a little Pedro Jimenez, a little pajarete before they stop home to have lunch. And you'll see inside, it's meant for just that. For stopping in, having a drink with your friends, and then heading on home. There's no chairs. I think I've heard that before there used to not even be a bathroom inside. And you can see that it's what it is. The barrels are along the wall. The bartender will pull your drink, and there you are. No frills, very typical Spanish. I think that's one of the things that I like most about it. It doesn't feel like a tourist trap. It feels like somewhere where Malagueños go, because they do. And it's just a great atmosphere to have a little drink as you're walking around town. Look how he's pouring right from the barrel. I think that's one of the best parts of drinking your Malaga sweet wine from here. And pajarete is one of the best things that you can choose. Yeah. If you see right here, he put what we got and what we owe right there. Really authentic. So what we just ordered is pajarete, and this wine comes from Arcos de la Frontera in Cádiz, and it was super popular in the 18th century with the British. They used it as a dessert wine. It's really delicious, and you should definitely get it whenever you come to the Antigua Casa de Guardia. Salud! One of my favorite places to come whenever I go to a new city is the marketplace. I think it's a great place to see the different products that are from the area, and also get a feel for the local culture. You really get that sense of, excitement, hearing people buy the different produce and fish and meats. This behind me is the Mercado de Atrasanas, and it is obviously pretty unique for its architecture. As you can see, there's a door that is in the Moorish style. It's actually the style of Nazari. And this is because the building was built all the way back in the 14th century. It was built originally as a naval space. They used it to construct their munitions and also to build boats. And that might seem a little bit strange because we're obviously pretty far from the modern day port. But back in that time, the ocean came all the way up to where the door is. So you can imagine the whole area of Muelle Uno, all Calle Larios, all these shops that we've already passed, the Alameda, all of that was underwater. So it's pretty impressive when you think about that. And for centuries, for about 3 centuries, it was used as a military establishment. It was, just the naval, and they were constructing ships and whatnot. But in the year 1862, Malaga decided to make it into a marketplace. So they tore down everything except for this marble door, which is why it's obviously so impressive. And they turned it into a market. They started construction in 1876 and they ended in 1879. And it's been a marketplace ever since. And they did one renovation in the year 2008 and it was finished in 2010. So now you can really appreciate, the original architecture. Something else interesting to note, because it is a marketplace, is the kind of language around that and how it gets introduced into the culture. One of the things that a lot of Malagueños say is que pecha. So you'll hear them say que pecha de frío, and it basically means what a lot. So how cold it is, like que pecha de frío or que pecha de gente. There's so many people here. And that actually comes from the marketplace, because a long time ago, the people would come with all of their wares, kind of going like this, trying to balance everything that they wanted to carry, and it would come up to their pecho, their chest. So when you say que pecha, it's like a whole chest full of whatever you're carrying. And that translated over time into what a bunch of, what a lot of whatever you're talking about. So if you hear that ever as you're walking around que pecha, you'll know it means what a lot of. And let's go across the street. I want to show you the part that's inside. All right, so now we're on the other side of the street, right beside the entrance of the market. And when we go inside, I want you to really pay attention to the architecture. The inside has a lot of wrought iron, which is, the style was brought from Paris. And you can see this in a lot of markets. I think in the Boqueria in Barcelona, you also see that. It has, the ceiling is a lot of wrought iron, and also it allows for the light to come in. So you don't get this like claustrophobic feeling while you're shopping. And on the back window, if you'll come along, you can see there's a huge stained glass window. And we can't see it now because there's a lot of little stands in the way, but it shows a lot of the things that are typical of Malaga. So you can see the boats, because obviously the fishing industry, we're right here by the Mediterranean Sea. And you also see the cathedral and the Alcazaba, which was the Moorish fort. And you can see, I think, I'm trying to remember, various statues as well as the cathedral. So when we go inside, take a look and let me know if you have any questions about the different things that you see. And let's go take a walk in the market. One thing that you have to remember whenever you come to the market is that Monday is not really a good day to go shopping, because the fishermen won't have gone out on Sunday, so the fish isn't so fresh. And in Malaga, one of the main things that you can get is fresh fish. So you can see over here some of the delicious fish that you can get daily. I think that's one of the biggest things that I love about Malaga. You can come every single day, get your fresh fish, see what's good, and plan your menu around that. It's not something that we have in the States, and it's something that's really, a luxury. And you might have heard also that the people from Malaga are called boquerones. And that's actually a type of fish. It's the same little fish that the anchovy is made from. And the boqueron is the name for someone from Malaga. You might also hear it with football, because you hear the Frente Boqueron. Those are the supporters of the Malaga football team. And if you go over here a little bit, you can see a little bit better what I was talking about with the wrought iron. You see the arches up above here. And that also echoes the Moorish influence that we saw in the door, the Nazari marble door. And then here is obviously the stained glass that I was talking about, which has been recently redone, like I said, with the renovation in 2010. So I think it's just a great place to come to get the flavor of the city. You can't talk about Malaga and the culture of the city without talking about the Semana Santa. Obviously, Holy Week, the processions are famous around the world. You can see them in all the different cities in Spain, although it's true that in the north, the processions are a lot more kind of sedated and more solemn. In the south, especially in Malaga, you're going to find that the Holy Week and all the processions surrounding it are a lot more of a kind of happy occasion. You're probably going to meet your friends in the street and maybe have a beer while you're waiting for the processions. You're probably going to take your little schedule for where to see each hermandad or each brotherhood and figure out like, oh, well, I'm going to go here first and then go over here and then see this other one. Because it's a culture. You want to see your friends, but you also want to see the espectáculo, the show. So another thing that's interesting about the Semana Santa in Malaga is that instead of pasos, the floats that they use are called tronos. And they are basically gigantic floats. They weigh up to 5,000 kilos, and there can be anywhere from 72 to 400 some people carrying these. The people that carry the tronos are called costaleros, and they basically take all the weight of the float onto their shoulders. They use a towel to kind of protect themselves, and they get underneath it and hoist it up on their shoulders and carry this all through the town. And in Malaga, it's really interesting because the tronos are too big to fit inside any of the parishes. So where it would leave from inside the church in a city like Sevilla, in Malaga, they can't fit because they're basically like little chapels in and of themselves that people are hoisting up on their backs. So they take this procession, which the main focus obviously is the trono, and go all around town, and the people, the devoted are watching. And another aspect of the procession that's really important, obviously, is the music. The first time I heard a Semana Santa march, I definitely thought it was something super sad and really kind of eerie, almost like a funeral march. But once I saw what it was like when you're in the streets, these narrow little streets in Andalusia that you barely have room to stand in because there's so many people packed in. You're pressed up against the back of a building, kind of trying to get a view of these tronos and of the procession going by. It's really the perfect music. It makes the float come to life, and you can see in Malaga they also say that they dance with the trono a little bit, so the costaleros move back and forth, and it makes it look almost like the figure of Christ on the cross is actually moving, or the Virgin Mary is walking down the streets. It's really something spectacular to see. And if you're lucky, also you'll see someone come out on their balcony and sing a saeta, which is just a very religious song, kind of that evokes a lot of emotion and is, paying homage. And they're amazing because, it's dark out, you have the candlelight, and it just gives you goosebumps to hear this person sing and the pure emotion that comes out of their heart. And this bar is all kind of cofrade themed, which means it's Semana Santa themed. And it's a great option if you're not in Malaga for the Semana Santa because it lets you kind of experience the same things that you would experience during Semana Santa in the form of a bar, and it has delicious tapas to boot. So let's go inside. We're inside Las Marchanas and we just ordered some tapas. This is a monterito de pringa, and they make it using the meat that they have inside cocido, or that they use to make the cocido. So the next day, whatever's left over from the chorizo, the meat, the beef, the chicken, they mix it all together with a little bit of the fat from the tocino, the bacon. And they make this delicious looking concoction and make a little sandwich out of it. So that's something that's really typical of this bar, and it's one of the best things to order. And then another tapita that we have